We were watching it today.
Okay.
Is it still going?
Yeah, that's in the Smith phone, she said.
And we're all
So,
doing that. We're all
yeah,
doing
normally,
it. Everybody
once
started.
I get
Everybody
started,
shooting
I
the
mean,
same.
Listen, you're a great entertainer.
Okay, we're
So-
rolling.
So we don't have to, it's just you and me. These guys, we'll just pretend they're not here in the room. And it's me and you. So we don't want you acting, we want yourself, like you do every day. And it's just me and you. So we'll just kind of pretend that's not there.
Okay. Yeah, so we're rolling. Take it away.
All right. So, Mr. MACDAY, I was telling these guys, because back to our 2005 interview that I was telling you about at Raspberry, I said, Mr. Mac's got a bunch of cool stories. One of them was about how he got up here from Jackson, and it involved Medgar Evers. So could you tell that story about kind of how he catalyzed your activism, how he got you interested in this place?
well, first I got arrested in Jackson trying to go to the state fair. And I was not demonstrating, you know. I mean, this is after the freedom rides. I was not a part of the freedom rides. And I just wanted to go to the fair. Several of my friends, high school friends that I've grown up with, got jobs working at the fair when to first opening up. And I went with them down there one day, and I saw all of these rides and this midway and a lot of things that never was at the little local black fair. And they had a burlesque show. And I'd never seen one, but I had heard about it, you know, burlesque. And so I wanted to go. So I go down there one day. Two of my other friends, we talked about going to that fair. And we agreed to meet at 10 a.m. that morning. And so at 10 a.m. I went to the place where we were supposed to meet. And nobody showed. And so after about an hour, I walked on down to the fairground myself. It was on Lynch Street. I was out there across from Jackson State College. There used to be a restaurant, 2 or 3 hangouts where we would hang out there on Lynch Street. And so I walked on down to the fairground, and they still hadn't shown up. So I walked up to the ticket booth, and the lady asked, she said, "Nigga, what you want?" And I said, "I want to go to the fair, and I'm reaching my money." She said, "This ain't your fair. You get on away from here." And I said, "Y'all said y'all come. I saw in the newspaper, this is a state fair, public fair. I got the money." She said, "You get your black ass away from here, or I'm gonna call the police." And so I kind of walked off, a little bit angry, because I seriously wanted to go to the fair. And then I decided to go back. So I go back, try to hand her my money, and she said, "I told you to get away from here." I said, "Now I'm gonna call the police." So she called the police. I'm ready for the police, I guess. When I was growing up, my friends and I had a little thing about somebody said, "I'm gonna call the police." I said, "Well, I'm the police till he get here. Then when he get here, I'm gonna go on a strike." So I stayed there. Police come. They told me, said they gave me an opportunity to leave, and now I'm a little bit peed off. I don't understand why I can't go to the fair. I know there's segregation, and but that's like I saw segregation trying to integrate the school, trying to integrate a restaurant or something, where you was going to be in kind of close proximity of each other, sitting in the fair, just open air, something. And so I didn't leave. And the guy told me, "So you're under arrest," and brought me to city jail, locked me up, and I stayed in jail all night. Next morning, the jailer came to my cell and said, he said, "There's a nigga downstairs coming to get you out of jail." I'm thinking about who would come to get me out of jail. And I couldn't figure my friends had the money. I didn't know how much it was going to cost. But so he brought me out, and when he brought me into the courtroom, he pointed up there. He said, "There he is up there in the bleachers in the courtroom." And I looked up there, there's this tall, handsome man with a briefcase in his lap. And so he got up and walked down there and told me he was Medgar Evers. He says, "I'm field secretary for the NAACP." I'd heard of Medgar, but I'd never met him, actually. And so we walk out, get in the car, he drive out to his office on Lynch Street, and he talk about the NAACP and the plans they have to desegregate public facilities, and about a youth group that he had organized at Tulu. And so I left, but he said, "Come around anytime." And so I left, and 3 or 4 days later, I'm on the Jackson State campus, contemplating whether I'm going to go to college or not. And I had a lot of hesitancy because I couldn't see if I'm going to go to college, watch how school teachers were. You know, they seemed to have been scared to death. My grandmother was a school teacher. She wasn't one of them scared ones. But anyway, so I'm on the campus, and a guy named Lawrence Giat showed up. And he's carrying a stack of papers, like if you ever met him, he always had a stack of something to hand out. And he walks up to us and says, "Fellas, this is a duplication of the application for registration to vote. Any of you guys old enough to vote?" You had to be 21 at that time. Neither of us, I believe I was about 20, because when I get to the Delta, I get registered while I'm in the Delta. But I wasn't 21 until sometime then. But anyway, what happened was I went back to Medgar's office periodically. He distributed a newspaper about meetings and about what was happening in the black community, and I helped him distribute those. And then I decided, Giat had invited me and some of my friends to Freedom House in Jackson, and we had never gone. So this day, we decided to go to the Freedom House. Giat is there. He started talking about SNCC moving from sit-ins to voter registration, and a big project in the Mississippi Delta. And a guy named Bob Moses is going to be coming to Freedom House on a Saturday, August 9th, 1962. And so anybody here who was ready to go can go with Bob up there. And so we left that evening. I had no intention of going. Actually, I wasn't too concerned about doing nothing but trying to get out of Mississippi. My whole aim was to get out of Jackson, get out of Mississippi. But over that few days passed, and I run into a guy by the name of Landy McNair, who had been a classmate of mine at Lanier, and he's met Giat, and he's interested in going to Freedom House. So we go to Freedom House in the middle of the week, and again, Giat's talking about coming to the Delta, and Landy says, "I'm going." And Charlie Cobb, who was a student at Howard University, is on his way down to Texas, and he had heard about the freedom rides and what was happening in Mississippi. So he said he's going to come through here, get off the bus, stay a few hours, and then go on down to Texas to write, because he was planning to write about the freedom rides and about the freedom movement, students especially. And so he got kidnapped by Giat. We had a COFO office right there on Lynch Street. COFO office that started to be set up around the freedom rides. This was some of the freedom riders getting out of jail and that kind of stuff. Medgar and all of them had set up what they call a COFO. Anyway, so one day I was talking to Medgar and I asked him, I said, you know, these sit-ins don't seem to be working. I don't see how getting in jail is gonna get me my freedom. Faster the freedom riders come in, they lock them up, and when they get out, they go home. You know, the freedom riders, the destination was New Orleans, but most of them never got to New Orleans. They got in jail in Jackson, spent 2 or 3 weeks or months or whatever, and then they went home. So the aim was, you know, to continue the freedom ride. So that's how some of my friends got involved. But this particular day, I asked Medgar, how are we going to stop it? I want to know how, not how to eat at a restaurant. I'm not concerned about going and sitting with white people. How are we going to stop the man from lynching us? And Medgar said, meet me at my office this afternoon. Get as many of the guys together as you can. Meet me in my office, and I'm gonna show you. So we meet him there at 3 o'clock. He takes down a big map. He had a map in his office, and he just rolled it down, and he drew a circle around the Mississippi Delta. He said, and then he talked about how the legislature was apportioned, how members of the House got there, how members of the Senate got there from various districts, voting districts, and he talked about how Mississippi's got 82 counties, and then how the congressional district and everything was drawn, and how these House districts were. And then in this circle where he had drawn were numerous House seats, and Mississippi has 122 members of the House, and at that time, 52 members up in the Senate. So he told us that if we registered a significant number of blacks in the Delta, then we could send so many members to the House, and that, as he said, political power will help us stop Mr. Charlie from lynching us. Okay, so I began to see that. I said, yeah, this ain't sitting in. This is not hunting for a Coca-Cola or something. This is actually a way to move significant white members who hold these seats in these districts that's 60 and 80% black. Holmes County had 80% black population with about 70% voting age. And in Sunflower County, we had 68% voting age. And if you looked at across all, there's about 23 counties. And so I said, hey, well, this is it. And, you know, I'm with this. So I meet Bob Moses there with Charlie Cobb and Landon McNair and somebody else. There were several other guys there, but Bob comes. And now, Giat's been talking about Bob for as long as I had earlier met him. So I'm looking for this probably about 6'8", Paul Bunyan type guy to come through and take us to the Delta. And on this Saturday night, we're all sitting around, you know, having snacks, maybe a beer or something. And the house kind of started to filling up. Other freedom riders and others who want to meet Bob Moses there. And then finally Giat says, Bob Moses is here. And I go to looking around, you know, being a short guy, I'm looking around up for the person, and then somebody over there says, I'm Bob Moses. And right away, I'm disappointed, you know, because I have envisioned this guy as being tall and big with a bass voice. And here Bob, with that soft voice, you know, I said, oh, well, we ain't gonna, I'm almost ready to quit now. But, so Bob got to talking, and then from his conversation, I could see that it wasn't his height or voice, it was his intelligence and the information that he would bring. You know, take a chance to go with this guy. So that night we took off for Greenwood. Now SNCC had already started a project in the Delta. Sam Block, who was a young black student at Mississippi Valley State College, who was mentored by Amazon Moore. And so he had agreed before we went up there to go to Greenwood and start a voter registration project. He had gone over there and they whooped him up good, White Citizen Council, and tried to run him out of town. He had been able to get little involvement there in Greenwood with David Jordan's daddy, who was a World War II veteran and wanted to register and vote, but he didn't have the support. And there was another World War II veteran named Barnes who owned a building. He was a photographer. And Sam had convinced him to allow him to use his office space above his shop downstairs. And when they whooped Sam, beat him up good, and threatened bonds, the Citizen Council put pressure on him because he had notes at the bank and a family. And so Sam had to kind of minimize his involvement there because he'd only been there for a short time, and they'd been trying to find him and run him out of town after they whooped him. He was sleeping in old cars at night in a junkyard. And Barnes had to put him out because he would have lost. So that night when we got to Greenwood, Sam Block and LaVon Brown, who was a classmate of mine, Bob had taken up there to the Delta. Giot had been through there too. And but he's now down in Jackson recruiting. So that night, after we finally found Sam and LaVon Brown, they were hid out in some woods out there somewhere, and they had been involved with a guy at the pool hall, a black guy who ran the pool hall. And so Bob finally got through with his business with Sam and LaVon. So now we get into the car, and we're going to Amazon Moore's house. Bob's driving 98 Oldsmobile convertible. And so as we're driving on up the highway, Bob started to talk about Macomb and the fact that Herbert Lee's been killed down there. I wasn't even aware of that, you know, because I was rather naive about it. I was just a young guy who was trying to hurry up and get out of Mississippi. And but anyway, so as we're driving up, we come out of Greenwood, Highway 82, to Highway 49 east, headed up the highway. It's dark, man, it's dark. There's no lights nowhere, didn't see except on that Oldsmobile. And so we get up to Highway 442, and we go west then, headed for a little town called Dodgeville, Mississippi, on Highway 49 west. So when we get to Dodgeville, we take a right, headed toward a town called Ruleville. Bob's talking about Ruleville. He said, Ruleville's a dangerous town. He said, they've got a curfew there that black folks have to be off the streets at midnight, and no lights in their houses. They can't turn their lights on after midnight. So we're creeping through. I noticed Bob creeping through town. You know, I was wondering why he was going so slow. And this is supposed to be a dangerous place. It looked like we want to get on through there, but he was wise enough to know that don't break the law. And so as we're driving and we're in there, I'm looking all around, expecting any minute some Bunny Fife type uneducated cop to stop us. And we wound up in jail, but we make it through to Highway 8, again turn west, headed toward Cleveland. And I'm still looking around because we ain't out of the city limits yet. So in my writings, I talk about the proudest moment of my life then was to look back and see the back of the sign that said Ruleville. So we make it to Cleveland. And we go to Amson Moore's house. I'd never heard of Amson before. Bob didn't tell us about Amson, but he was the kind of guy, Bob that just kind of did things. He kind of left it to you to learn and to, you know, things like that. So we drive up to Cleveland to this fancy house, brick, middle class. And I'm surprised because I had envisioned the Delta being shacks. You know, there was, but Amson didn't live in a shack. He was a World War II veteran who had gotten out of the war, come and made his home there in Cleveland. He was a businessman. He was having all kind of trouble out of the White Citizen Council there because he had a business, a service station and restaurant on Highway 61. And that White Citizen Council had told him he couldn't feed blacks and white in the place at the same time, that he had to put a sign on his restroom that said for colored only, and that don't feed white people in that restaurant. And so Amson refused to put the sign up, and he refused to do, you know, something my grandmother done earlier. But so Amson and Bob, after Bob introduced us to Amson and Bob talked all night, we went to bed. And so that was Saturday night. And then the next morning, Sunday, Bob tells us to get ready, we're going to church. I've never been much of a church goer, still visiting today. But we load into the car. And when I noticed that once we got out from Amson's house and got out to the main highway, we turned on Highway 8 headed toward Ruleville. And I'm beginning to get worried. Well, why are we going back to the worst place that seemed that for the few minutes I've been here, why are we going back here, you know? And so we go back to Ruleville, and Amson's driving, Bob, Landis, and Charlie Cobb and myself in the back seat. And Amson drives through Ruleville, and he goes out just outside of Ruleville. There's this white church called Mount Galilee. You can see it from the highway, even now. And that's where Amson and Bob had set up the McDonald's. Joe McDonald and his wife and other black leaders in Ruleville who had requested SNCC through Amson and Bob to bring them some organizers. And that's how we got to Joe McDonald's house that evening, that Sunday evening. And then Joe McDonald and his wife was to be our host, and we were to organize from his house.
Can I stop you there
Yeah.
and ask about Mount Galilee? So that was the church where you guys kind of pulled in and met the McDonald's. Because we're going to go shoot that church.
Yeah, you seen it? Have you seen the church?
I'm not paying attention to where it would be. Is it on the west side of Ruleville?
Well, when you're going out of town, head south.
Towards
You're
going
headed
south.
going toward Indianola.
On 49 West?
49 West, yeah. And just at the edge of the city, as soon as I'll tell you how easy, there's a car lot right on the corner. As you're going out of town, there's a car lot there with a lot of junk cars. There's a road that runs right beside it, and that road goes east. As soon as you pass this little housing project, Mount Galilee is sitting out in the cotton field, out to the left. You can see the church from, as soon as you turn, you can see it. And it's a cemetery there, and around the church. But that's the church that we first was introduced to the Ruleville community. And this is where we met our host, Joe McDonald, and some other citizens who had requested SNCC organizers to help them put on a voter registration drive in the county. We would start here and eventually work the whole county of Sunflower. So we went to Joe McDonald's house, and from there, the next morning we got got arrested by a white man in a car who never identified himself, but he put a 38 on. He what happened was he drives along the side. We're walking. Several kids in the community had agreed to show the three of us around the community that we were going to be working, and this white car drives up right beside us, and this little white man gets out, and he said, "You niggas get in the car." And I said, "Who's for what? Who said it?" He reached back in the car and get that 38, and he said, "This says it." And so, and he's talking about the three of us, the local kids. He didn't put them in the car. He had us get in the car, take us to City Hall, and he asked us several questions about where we were from. And he said, "All you guys come down here from New York, think you're going to change things here in Mississippi?" And Landon and I said, "New York? I'm from Jackson, Mississippi." And Cobb don't say nothing here. I mean, he's from Boston. And so this guy go back into the back and make some phone calls. Then he come back and he says, "I want y'all to get out of town." Say, "I want you to get out of this town, otherwise something bad's gonna happen." And he tells us to get out of his office. We still don't know who he is, but now we're in City Hall. So I know now that how I want to do this, because the blacks where he picked us up, and these kids were black, and they done run and told people that we've been taken, and so the black folks out in the yard when they first picked us up. When the mayor picked us up, they all disappeared, and we couldn't see nothing but little eyes peeping out under the shades and from around the house, you know. And I said, now the psychology of what we got to do is get him to take us back to where he picked us up. And I said, you don't want us wandering around here in town. We don't know where to go. We're gonna get lost, and you know, some white folks see us wandering around new here. And he said, get in the car. So we had him to take us right back to where he had picked us up, right in that black area. And blacks who were out there, as soon as his car pulled up, they disappeared. Now we're standing up there in the street, the three of us, and when he drives off, blacks start to come out, and one young black guy by the name of Lafayette Cerny walks out there to where we were and asks who we was, and how come the mayor brought us back. He said, everybody expected y'all to be in the river. That they expected us to be killed and thrown in the river. So then we told him who we were and what we were doing, and then he led us around the community. And that night, Joe McDonald, our host, held a meeting at this William Chapel Church. This is our first time in what is now William Chapel Church, the different church from this, the one you see in that picture, but just a building that had been hauled from out in the country to town, and the church set up in it.
Let me stop you there. How are we doing on
Yeah,
cards?
we gotta change the battery.
I was gonna say, we probably gotta change a battery or change a card
I
out.
got 5 minutes of
Mr. Mack, that was
storage left.
Yeah, this one's
fantastic.
done.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Good, huh?
Yeah, I just stopped.